Very good. And let's go to the politics a little bit north of Louisiana. I-35, which was Highway 77 in another time, cuts north-south through Moore, Oklahoma. Tom Cole is a congressman from the 4th District. He was born and raised in Moore and knows viscerally things that go north and south across this nation. The Keystone Pipeline, well, it divides Washington. Perhaps it should not. Republicans and Democrats may be able to find a common ground. Congressman, wonderful to have you here with us this morning. Does the price of oil change the search for a common ground?
Oh, absolutely not. Look, oil fluctuates up and down, and obviously for the American consumer, it's pretty good recently. But long term, you have to build the infrastructure that it takes to transport the product, and Keystone's a critical element. And that's also pretty important in our relationship with our friends to the north. A lot of Americans forget we run a pretty important pipeline called the Alaskan Pipeline through their territory.
If you were to meet with the House and the Senate leadership today with the president, what would be your single talking point to President Obama?
Energy security. Frankly, making North America energy secure, I think, not only has important economic implications, but frankly, it has important geostrategic implications as well for our country long term.
So we have a quote, Congressman, that you gave to Bloomberg News a couple days ago, which is that the president is trying to bait House Republicans into a fight that risks a government shutdown. You're standing there in the rotunda. How do you walk around to your colleagues in that building and keep them from taking the bait?
Well, I think you just remind them of what happened only a year ago in the last shutdown. Look, a lot of people, I think, mistakenly led us into a fight where we shut down the government to defund Obamacare. It didn't do that. Our own numbers plummeted. The American people were, I think, rightly upset. And if it hadn't been for the failed rollout of Obamacare, we would have paid a heavy price for that going forward. We shouldn't, repeat that same play. We know it simply doesn't work. There's other means to oppose the president without shutting down the government. Our aim should be to shut down the president, not the government.
Congressman, we spoke about 2 years ago, and you said something really interesting, which is that part of the problem right now in Congress for both parties is that earmarks are gone, and that was part of the way things got passed, business got done. What else needs to change for you to start getting more bills passed that the president will sign?
Well, I think things change. We have a Republican Senate now, and so the Senate's been basically a graveyard for House legislation for years now. That's getting ready to change, but it's still got to recognize the president has a veto and the Senate has a filibuster, and the Democrats have enough votes there. So it's going to be pretty important to find things that are bipartisan, like Keystone, to give the president, frankly, some tough decisions. We put that on his desk. The overwhelming majority of the American people favor it. A lot of elements of his coalition, like labor unions, favorite. So let's give him an opportunity to make a decision.
Congressman, stay with us. Richard Haas with us as well from CFR. Your book is about Tom Cole's world. We've got to get ourselves fixed domestically as we go forward. Are you happy with the initial dialogues that we see with a Republican Senate and a Republican House?
If they can do some progress on trade agreements, particularly the Trans-Pacific Agreement, if you could do something on Keystone, which in addition to everything the congressman's correctly said, it would send a powerful diplomatic signal. We want the Germans to maybe restart nuclear. We want the French to do fracking. How can we get them to take tough energy decisions if we're going to continue to kick this down the road? That's a real problem for us.
Well, Congressman Cole, what do you say to conservative Republicans, those that are really on edge about any kind of getting something done? How do you address them in the House and even in the Senate?
Look, again, we've been given a majority for 2 years in both houses. The worst thing you can do is do nothing and simply throw rocks at one another. We've got to show that Republican governance works. It's not only important to maintain those majorities, it's important to set up, frankly, our next presidential nominee to have a chance to win. So we've got some things we know we can work on the bipartisan base. We have some things we can work on with the president. Trade is obviously one of them. Tax reform might well be another. None of us like ISIL. There can be a bipartisan new authorization on Syria. So let's find the areas we have in common, continue to we think he's wrong, but get things done.
Congressman, thank you so much. Tom Cole from the 4th Congressional District in Oklahoma.